Hi everyone, it's meteorologist Brian Bennett. I wanted to do another update this evening, being that, well, the hurricane is impacting Florida and it's going to be making landfall in the early morning hours. As of the 8 p.m. advisory, it is now Hurricane Elsa once again. Winds are sustained at 75 miles per hour. The Hurricane Center has the storm still going north and making landfall right around Citrus or Levy counties as we head towards the early morning hours. Taking a closer look, you can see the track comes really close to making landfall in Pinellas County. Right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I think the main center of circulation will stay just offshore, but nonetheless, that doesn't mean we won't have really windy conditions and lots of rain for much of Tampa Bay. And then the storm will start to turn off to the northeast just a little bit, and it'll make landfall again early tomorrow morning as a strong tropical storm or perhaps a low-end Cat 1 hurricane at best. All right, let's look at the infrared satellite, and we can kind of tell a lot what's going on with the storm from looking at it from above. The bright cloud cover tops means that the storm is pretty intense. That means that when you have cold cloud tops, you have strong storms. And if you notice over the last couple hours, I'm starting to see a little bit less of the bright colors. So to me, that indicates the storm is actually starting to weaken a little bit, which wouldn't shock me, being that it's encountering quite a bit of land interaction with Florida now. So it is a hurricane, but I wouldn't be too surprised if the storm were to become a tropical storm in a few hours or overnight tonight, being that it does seem to be weakening just a little bit. Also, the hurricane reconnaissance aircraft is in the storm right now, and as of the latest passing, it has not found hurricane force winds. Not to say it won't, but right now no hurricane force winds have been found yet. So very possible that later this evening or tonight it will become a tropical storm and no longer be Hurricane Elsa, and then eventually make landfall, possibly as a tropical storm. Okay, here's a look at the future radar. This is the high-resolution rapid refresh model. You can see the storm overnight tonight is going to move off to the north and then make that little bit of a northeasterly turn as we head towards the early morning hours, and then make landfall right around 7 or 8 a.m. in the Citrus and Levy County area. Just because the main center of circulation has passed doesn't mean that we can't still see some decent downpours. Notice these kind of trailing rain bands that are on the southern part of the storm. Those can actually add up and give you quite a bit of rainfall if it happens to basically train over your one location. Now, it's hard to say exactly where that will happen, but some locations by tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon will have picked up some pretty hefty rainfall totals, especially due to that training of the rain bands. All right, how much rain are we going to see? On average, we'll see between 3 and 6 inches of rain in the green and yellow color here. That includes anywhere from Sanibel to most of western Tampa Bay, up through Ocala, Gainesville, and even up into southeastern Georgia as well, until the storm just completely dissolves up in the Carolinas. All right, what type of wind are we looking at? The strongest winds will occur in the Tampa Bay area. That includes Sarasota, parts of Pinellas County, St. Pete Beach, Clearwater, downtown Tampa. The strongest winds will happen right around midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning. And then we'll continue to have strong gusty winds throughout the nighttime hours. The wind direction will be changing overnight tonight. Instead of being a southerly wind or even a southeast wind, it'll become more of a south-southwest wind, which will have impacts on the potential storm surge that we're going to see overnight tonight. So the strongest winds, again in the Tampa Bay area, will be right around midnight to about 3 o'clock in the morning. And as you head to northern Tampa Bay, that includes Pasco, Hernando, looks like the strongest winds will be right around 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And then it looks like the storm will make landfall again right around 7, 8 o'clock in the morning in the Citrus County to the Levy County areas. And really that hasn't changed throughout the day today, or even since yesterday for that matter. We've been very consistent with the landfall location. Okay, so let's take a look at the tornado possibility and some of those rain bands that are dragging behind the storm, and even the heavy rain that's occurring near the center part of the storm. We are looking at the possibility for a few isolated tornadoes, so don't be surprised if you hear or see a tornado warning overnight tonight. Not going to be widespread, but the potential does exist as we have a lot of wind shear that occurs in tropical systems. So you can see overnight tonight, you need to keep those weather alert radios or your phone or some method for being alerted if a tornado warning is issued for your area. Okay, I want to switch gears a little bit and hop over to PowerPoint to show you this little graphic that I made here. And this is talking about storm surge. And you get the word storm surge when, one, you have onshore winds, two, the storm is near you, so you're getting a little bit of rise because of the low pressure system, and three, you have high tide. Tide can add 2 to 3 feet of water onto your storm surge. So when will the main window of concern be for the main areas of the Gulf Coast? Well, if you live in Southwest Florida, that includes Naples, Sanibel, Fort Myers, the winds are going to turn from offshore. Basically, they're blowing from on land to offshore. They're going to turn to onshore. That means they're blowing from the water to the land. That happens pretty much right now. We're looking at winds shifting to the southwest as of this recording, right around 9 p.m. And then the winds will remain onshore. And then right around 4 o'clock in the morning, the winds will weaken below the threshold that I think will result in a significant storm surge. So you're looking at this time of concern where the winds are blowing onshore and they're strong enough. And you're also looking at the high tide. So the greatest risk for a storm surge in the Naples, Sanibel, Fort Myers area will be right around midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning. That would be when the tide will be the greatest and the winds will be onshore. Okay, that is Southwest Florida. Let's switch over to Tampa Bay. This includes Tampa, St. Petersburg, and Sarasota. And we're looking at winds turning onshore in the Pinellas, Manatee, Sarasota, Pasco County areas. Looking at that happening right around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And then the winds weaken beyond the threshold for concern right around 10 o'clock in the morning. So 1 a.m. to 10 a.m. is when you have that combination of onshore winds and you have strong winds as well. So what about the tide? Well, it will be rising from where it is this evening. So the tide was really low right around sunset, but during the middle of the night, the tide will continue to rise to about 1.5 feet. So the tide levels will be about 1.5 feet higher than they were at sunset, but it won't be the highest. Fortunately, the winds will drop below the area of concern by about 10 a.m. and the highest tide, the 3-foot tide, will be occurring at right around 10 or 11 o'clock on your Wednesday morning. So yes, we'll have storm surge, but it could actually be worse. So actually a little bit of good news that we're not looking at the highest tide possible during the strongest onshore winds. Not to say we won't have storm surge flooding, but it is a possibility that it won't be quite as bad as it could have been because of the tide not being as high as it could potentially be. In other words, the time is not coinciding with the strongest part of the storm. So some good news there, but nonetheless, the Hurricane Center is still forecasting a storm surge of 3 to 5 feet, which is pretty significant. 5 feet may be pushing it. I'm thinking maybe more on that 3 foot. 3 to 4 foot will be more likely for the Tampa Bay area. Hernando, Citrus, Levy, and Dixie counties. Time of concern where the winds will be onshore will be from 7 a.m. in the morning on your Wednesday morning to 4 p.m. on your Wednesday afternoon when the winds drop below that threshold and are no longer a concern. Now a little concerning for this area that the strongest winds will be happening with a pretty massive high tide. We're looking at a high tide of around 4 feet. So 4 feet more water than we saw around sunset in the Citrus, Levy, and Dixie County areas. And that's also when we're looking at some strong onshore winds. So we are looking at a fairly decent potential for storm surge flooding in northern Tampa Bay coastal areas and also southern Bend area. That does include Citrus County and Levy counties as well. So really that looks like the biggest storm surge risk out of the entire Gulf Coast area. All right, wanted to show you that. That's storm surge, that's wind, that's rain, and that's the possibility of a tornado risk as well. Hopefully we'll make it through the night tonight with this storm diminishing, and it'll be, for the most part, a non-event. But nonetheless, we need to be on guard and obviously take all the precautions that are necessary. All right, everyone, have a great evening, and we'll talk tomorrow. Thank you.